Okay, good morning, everyone. I want to thank Dvorah and Avi Orlam for sponsoring this morning and the next several Emunah Shiurim in memory of their beloved daughter Miriam Esther. So Neshama should have an aliyah, and you should get nechama and comfort through our learning of Emunah. Should serve in her memory and to give you strength. We are making our way through this piece in the Slonim Rebbe. We're spending several weeks on it, on the theme of Elul, and a theme which is relevant for this time of year, but not exclusively this time of year, but really speaks to our emunah and bitachon throughout the entire year. And the theme has been V'ani sfilasi lecha Hashem es ratzon. The theme of Ani ledodi v'dodi li, one of the acronyms quoted by the Arizal, the great Kabbalist for Elul, is Ani ledodi v'dodi li, that I am to my beloved and my beloved is to me. We have a lot of metaphors, we have a lot of examples for our relationship with Hashem. And Rabbi Akiva says, Shir Hashirim is Kodesh HaKadoshim, the highest metaphor, the one that's most accurate, the one that best depicts the relationship we're supposed to have with Hashem, is not of friends, and is not of parent and child, is not of boss and employee, but is a romantic relationship of a husband and wife, of a man and a woman, of romance, of love, of longing. And in that context, Ani lidodi v'dodi li is Ani lidodi, that I am to my beloved. And the whole theme that the Slonim Rebbe has been developing is that our mission in life is to submit, to devote our sense of Ani lidodi. Our Ani, our Anochius, our sense of self, our identity, our independence, our ego should be lidodi. That I'm trying to make my will conform to that of Hashem. I'm trying to be in consonance with Him. Ani lidodi. And when that happens, Hashem reciprocates, lidodi li. That just like in marriage and just like in human romantic relationships, when a person is willing to put the other ahead of themselves, then the other reciprocates and wants to put the other ahead of themselves. And that's the nature of the relationship with Hashem. That's the mission of us. That we should make our will conform to His. Try to make what we want be what He thinks we should want. It happens to be that what He wants for us is the best thing for us. Right? So that when Yecheva wants to go out for milchiks and I want to go out for fleishiks, if I make her will conform to mine, it's good for me in terms of shalom bias, but it's not good for me in terms of the meal. Of course, everyone knows fleishiks is much better. But it happens to be, but when you make your will conform to Hashem's will, I told the Comcast story last night this year, by the way. Like converting the Comcast employees. So it happens to be that when you make your will conform to Hashem's will, you're not sacrificing or submitting or forfeiting. Hashem's will for you is better than your will for yourself. So it's really in your very own interest. It's like you make your will conform to the nutritionist who's telling you what to eat. You're not compromising. That nutritionist is telling you what's best for you to eat. So when we make our will conform to Hashem's will for us in terms of what to eat spiritually, then we are conforming to what Hashem feels is really best for us. Okay, and it's in that context that he explained that this pasuk, "Ani sfilasi lecha Hashem es ratzon," v'ani sfilasi, regarding my ani, regarding my sense of self, regarding who I am, tfilasi, my prayer is lecha Hashem, that I'm able to succeed in devoting who I am to you. That when I'm going through my day and I'm feeling a conflict, I'm feeling a tension between what I want from me and what I know you want from me, I'm able to make my will conform to what you want from me. V'ani, regarding my sense of self, tefilasi, my prayer, what I'm always thinking about is how I can make it conform. We're on page Reish Nun Beis, the second side, 2, 4, 6, 8 lines up from the bottom. There's a dot. Yesh Adam Mavakesh. Everyone see where we are? Yesh Adam Mavakesh bakashos ketanos mishum shemitzad anosein eina ezroi levakesh bakashos yoseh gedolos. There are times that we ask for small favors, small things, because it's not the time to ask for large things. And there are times that all we can think about are in small things. I can't think, I can't contemplate, I can't apprehend. I'm not trying to achieve world peace right now, some enormous transformation. I'm asking for the small things. Get through the day, the moment, this work out well, the small things. Right? In the sentence of David HaMelech, one of the things he says is, when is it that I'm trying to tap into making who I am conform to who you want me to be? When is the best time to be doing that? During an Eis Ratzon. We talked about last week what's an Eis Ratzon. We talked about the Piazetzner Rebbe's one Eis Ratzon is Shalosh Shudas. Raiva D'Raivin, it's the Holy of Holies, it's the holiest moment of the week. When we think Shabbos is disappearing and we're losing the power, the energy of Shabbos is really when it's at its peak, when it's at its climax. It's the highest point of Shabbos. Too many people don't tap into that and achieve that. What the Piazetzner Rebbe described was his weekly Ne'ilah, was Shalashidus. It's an Eis Ratzon. There are other Eis Ratzons. This is a period of Eis Ratzon, of Dirshu Hashem B'hi Matzot. Did we talk about that last week? Dirshu Hashem, that speak to Hashem when he's found. Dirshu Hashem B'hi Matzot. What's the pasuk? Dirshu Hashem B'hi Matzot. Yosel Karov Elav, right? That we call out to Hashem when He is accessible to us. To which Chazal tell us, what does it mean, Dirshu Hashem B'hi Matzot? Eilu Aseres Yom Mishbein Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim. During those 10 days, and that's the notion of Hamelach Basada, the king is in the field. You try to have access to the king, but he's in his palace, so you can't get through, you can't get by. There are layers and layers and layers of guards and senior staff and social and secret service, and it's impossible to get access. You can't talk to him. But sometimes the king is in the field. The king is out. And when he's on the parade route, or when you're going to be at the rally, and you'll be able to grab him for a moment, then you have access. So this is the time of year that we're told, even though sometimes it's hard to feel Hashem's presence in our life, it's hard to feel we have access, we feel there are layers and layers of barriers, it's hard to feel His love, His intimacy, His presence, His hand on our shoulder. This is Hamelach Basada, the king's in the field. And the Meiri, I think it's the Meiri who says, not just Aseres Yamim Shebin Rosh Hashanah Liyom Kippurim, it's not just the 10 days that Hashem is out of the palace, but it's all Chodesh Elul, the whole month of Elul. Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. This whole month of Elul, Hashem is accessible. Hashem is available to me. So this whole month is an Eis Ratzon. And an Eis Ratzon can mean externally or internally. Meaning an Eis Ratzon can be that the cosmos provide me a moment. So every Shabbos at Shalashidus, the world is providing me that moment. A Bris Milah is an Eis Ratzon. We have many mystical sources that talk about the cries of the baby ascend and bring with it our most heartfelt tefillos. A Chasan and Kala under a chuppah, we give them names and people to daven for. It's their personal Yom Kippurim. We have these moments embedded in time.
A woman at the mikvah.
A woman at the mikvah, a woman lighting candles on Friday night. We have these moments of time which are embedded, this Eis Ratzon, to tap into, where don't just ask for the small things, right? If you get a meeting, you stop the president while he's walking down the street because he happens to be out campaigning or at a rally, and you've got an audience with him. Don't just hand him your parking ticket and ask him to get you off the parking ticket. That's a ridiculous waste of that opportunity. You got some $25 parking ticket? That's not what you had access to him for. Those are the big moments. That's where you take advantage of the large things during the Eis Ratzon. When you don't have access, so you send the parking ticket with a cover letter to somebody who you know, who knows somebody, who knows somebody, who knows somebody. Maybe you can help me with this. But in the Eis Ratzon, when you have that audience, Chodesh Elul, I'm not closing the door. Chodesh Elul, we have this audience, we have this opportunity. In that time, don't pass it up. Don't pass it up. Yehudi margish es efsiyuso she'eno klum. We feel our nothingness, our unworthiness. That's a great feeling. It's a terrible feeling, but it's a great feeling. Meaning, inherently, some might say, feeling unworthy is not going to motivate you for personal growth. But on the other hand, we are in a generation that's not struggling with feeling too unworthy. We feel too worthy. We feel we're all that. It's the famous Rav Simcha Bunim, or the Kotzker Rebbe, or a million other people in whose name it's quoted, that a Jew walks around with a petak in each pocket. You walk around with a note in each pocket. On one it says, Bishvili Nivra Olam, the whole world was created for me. Hashem put it all together. Technology, medical breakthrough, the world, the pleasures of the world. It's all there. If no one else existed, if no one else were created, Hashem would have done it all just for me. This world is my oyster. It's all there for me, on the one hand. We should understand that we are just beneath Hashem. Perek Ches of Tehillim. That we are just beneath Hashem. That's where we are. It's God, us, the angels, and then everything else in creation. That's who we are. Bana Matem Lamakom, we're the children of Hashem, we're royalty. The whole world exists just for us. That's in one pocket. And in the moments that we think I'm unworthy, I'm inconsequential, I'm invisible, I don't matter, what's the point of my life? What's the point of any of this? Everything that's happening to me is so random. Then you pull out that note and you say, Bishvili Nivra Olam. No, I do matter. I'm royalty. I'm the child of God. And this whole world, everything in it is there just for me. To tap into, to enjoy, to benefit from, to mold, to shape, to contribute, to conquer. It's all there for me. And then you have the moments where you feel, you know what? It's all there for me. I'm all that. It's all for me. So then you pull out the other note. Anochi afar ve'efer. I am gurnished. I'm nothing. I'm unworthy. So Yehudi Margish, part of our mission is to is to feel unworthy. So in that moment of an Eis Ratzon, by the way, an Eis Ratzon could just mean that you're really inspired. You just witnessed a sunset. You just experienced a great gift. You just had something coincidental happen, seemingly coincidental, that you feel was orchestrated from above. That's an Eis Ratzon to tap into. Something just came together. Something just happened. And you just sat at a kumzitz and the song lifted you. Whatever that moment is that transforms you, that's an Eis Ratzon. That's a moment of personal opportunity of breakthrough. And what are you going to break through with? Who are you going to think about? What are you going to contemplate? How are you going to be the best version of yourself? So in that moment of Eis Ratzon, what's our bakasha? What's the prayer? L'cha Hashem. Be'eis Ratzon, when I'm having that moment of personal breakthrough, my tefillah is L'cha Hashem. That I'm taking my whole sense of ani, my anochias, and I'm dedicating it to you. Uve'eis Ratzon agadol hazeh shel Hashana, shum bakasha inena b'chlal gedolos atem mevakesh, rak ha'yitzhara mevalbel ha'adam shelo yarich nechon as gadlos ha'eis Ratzon. So during this Eis Ratzon of Elul, this time of the year, part of the way the Yetzer Hara is working is, you know what it's telling you? It's telling me? It's telling all of us? Who are you kidding? You go through this every year. It never sticks. It never works. You have these dreams. You have these goals. You make these promises. You offer these pledges. Are we really going to do this routine again this year? You really think it's going to be different this year? That's the Yetzer Hara that every time you start a diet says, you know what? The first time you cheat, the next day says, who were you kidding? How many times have you done this? The exercise routine, the effort to be patient. Last night we spoke all about patience and trying to conquer anger, our impulse for anger. That Yetzer Hara, which we know, Yetzer Hara is not some little red devil on our shoulder. The Yetzer Hara is the internal voice of self-sabotage that we struggle with. It's the animal impulse in us, the instinct in us. So that voice, one of the ways, its methodologies, is to say, who are you kidding? Who are you fooling? You've done this before. You do this every year. And every time you come up short, it's there to say, I told you so. It's there to say, don't bother in the future. But the Slonim Rebbe is saying, no. The way to overcome that voice with the Yetzer HaTov is to say, this is an Eis Ratzon. It's going to be different this time. I have a breakthrough moment and a breakthrough opportunity. And I always believe that my best is yet to come. Me'ata v'ad olam. We spoke about on Shabbos a few weeks ago. Or the insight of Rav Shlomo Hoffman. V'anachnu nevarach ka. How do we praise Hashem? Not when we live a life where we're stuck in the past, where we beat ourselves up about the past, where we feel unworthy because of our past, where we can't move past our past and we can't put it down, and we're still carrying the woman across the river and we haven't set her down yet, if you remember the story from the drasha. That's not how we praise Hashem. How do we live the most meaningful, virtuous life, a life that is in praise of Hashem? V'anachnu nevarach ka. We do it when we live me'ata v'ad olam. Hashem, I can't change yesterday. All right, I had the bag of potato chips, I had the chocolate cake, I cheated on the diet yesterday. I lost my cool, I raised my voice, I promised I wasn't going to get angry, and I flipped out on my kids. All right, so I looked at the thing on the internet, or I spoke that juicy Lashon Hara, which I know I really shouldn't have shared. But you know what? That was yesterday. And yesterday's gone, and I can't rewind the clock, and I can't go back in time, and I can't change it. So I'm not going to get stuck in it. I'm going to learn from it, I'm going to be informed by it, but all I can do in life is me'ata v'ad olam. All I can live is v'ata, now and going forward. That's an Eis Ratzon. When you live in Elul, you heard that inspiring shir, you listened to that incredible music, you experienced that moment that brought a tear to your eye, you saw the sunset, you experienced nature, the coincidence thing that happened to your life. Whatever the example is, it's providing an Eis Ratzon, it's an invitation, it's an opportunity, and it says right now is a breakthrough. It's a breakthrough. Bottle it, capture it, return to it, come back to it. You know, on all these great experiences for kids, they'll often at the end have the kids write themselves, the future themselves, a letter. Didn't Atara just get a letter from herself from the past? When was it from? From 5th grade.
Yeah.
Right. The 5th grade teacher. She graduated high school. She's now in Israel, Baruch Hashem, doing fantastically well, Bli Ayin Hara. And on her way to leave our home from graduating 12th grade to go to Israel, she got a letter from her 5th grade teacher. She got a letter from her 5th grade self to her now post-high school self. Right? Which is it's a great exercise. So people do that for kids, but we should do that for ourselves. Everyone should go home after Ne'ilah, assuming you had a good Ne'ilah, and before you break your fast, write yourself a letter about the year that you want, about what you felt, about who you saw within you. Because you know what's going to happen by the last days of Sukkot, maybe by Sukkot, maybe by the end of the break fast of Motzei Yom Kippur, maybe, by Motzei Yom Kippur, There's this guy on the internet, he asks all these questions and he has pictures of rabbis with the answers. I don't know if anyone sees this. So he asked me this week, his question for this week is, what's your favorite tefillah on Yom Kippur? So at first I wrote, V'hu rachum of Marav on Motzei Yom Kippur, but then I changed that. I thought that was a little too cynical. So by Motzei Yom Kippur, you're already saying V'hu rachum. You're already saying Slach lanu avinu in the Shemona Esrei of Motzei Yom Kippur. What exactly did you do wrong? So everyone says it was that sigh of relief. The Yom Kippur's over, thank God. That's for Slach lanu avinu, right? So we can't even keep it going 10 minutes past Yom Kippur. Already Slach v'hu rachum, Hashem forgive us. So it's going to be lost. So imagine if we would capture it. Today you don't even have to write a letter to yourself. Just put your phone on.
Or you can
email yourself, or just take a video of yourself. Interview yourself. Take a video of yourself for 1 second, talking to your future self being tomorrow, saying, that was amazing. I tapped into something. I felt Hashem's presence. I felt the unity of being part of a community. There was an energy. I really believe I could do it. This is my year. And when the cynicism and sarcasm will arise, within a few days, you can watch it and say, you know what? Maybe I don't feel the same level of energy, but I saw something in myself. I know I have that in me. So the point is that we are provided these Eis Ratzons, these moments of breakthrough opportunity, these invitations for breakthrough. And the question is, will we walk through the door? Will we bottle it and capture it? Will we come back to it and revisit it? Will we be willing to remind ourselves that we saw a piece of ourselves, the most authentic version of ourselves? And now we struggle because that's one of the acronyms for Elul, Umartem es Levav, Malta, what is it? Malta es Levav. Whatever the pot. It's good you're here today. I can't remember anything. I had a very late night last night. So, Umalta es Levav Zarecha, whatever the pasuk is. I don't think that's it. You have to... There's a lot of acronyms for Elul, and one of them includes circumcising your heart. What does it mean to circumcise your heart? There's no mole who you can hire for that. What does it mean to circumcise your heart? Circumcise your heart means that our heart has layers and layers of covers, has virtual spiritual foreskins. And the mission is to peel them back, to cut them off, to reveal what is most authentic. And that's the struggle that we go through all the time. There's the most authentic version of ourselves. There's the most real version of ourselves. There's the best version of ourselves. We've seen it. Maybe we get to see it once a year for 10 minutes. Maybe we see it once a week. Maybe we see it once a day. Everyone's different. But it's the one who's able to make it through davening with kavanah, to walk away feeling energized, charged, like I really just connected with Hashem. There's that moment as a spouse or as a parent where we feel, you know what, that was the best version of me as a husband or a wife or a mother or a father, right? I was such an example, or I was devoted, or I was willing to self-sacrifice, or I was fully present in what I was doing, or I felt overwhelmed with a sense of love. There are our best moments in every realm of life. And the mission of Elul, the mission the whole year, but particularly of Elul, is to reveal that most authentic self. Is our most authentic self to be our most dominant self. Not to have our most authentic self be hidden and covered, but for it to be so revealed that the best version of us is the us that everyone knows. And not the us that only a few know, or only some know during certain times. And that's that Eis Ratzon. Elul is this Eis Ratzon, to break through and to convince ourselves that that's the real self. That our best is yet to come. Too many people, Moshe Bain, the current president of the OU, has a wonderful article in Old Klal Perspectives. It's an issue that talks about what it means to be a balabas. It's written mostly towards men. It's written entirely towards men, about basically the transition from going from yeshiva years to being in the workplace, to graduating yeshiva, to leave the cocoon, to leaving the bomb shelter of the yeshiva, and to go out into what we call the real world. And he says, unfortunately, what happens, most people think yeshiva is a place that is defined by growth, right? All the conversations, and seminary, same thing, girls' seminaries, right? You're lying awake late at night in your dorms. Maybe this happened before there was cell phones and FaceTime and texting and being in touch with all your friends. But you're grappling and gripping with all these questions, these existential questions of who you are and who you want to be, and is there a God, and can you feel His presence, and a million one of these questions. And then what happens is you graduate that stage of life, and then you go to the real world. And you feel that my best is behind me. My growth years are behind me. And at best, what I'm trying to do right now is maintain. I'm in the maintenance phase, right? So if you're going to, again, compare it to the diet, so my yeshiva or seminary years are my weight loss years, my exercise years, and then when I graduate, the rest of my life, I'm trying to do maintenance. I just don't want to gain the weight back. I just don't want to lose what I'm doing. And his argument in that article, and it's so beautifully written and persuasive and important, and really articulating a very different vision, is that where does it say that once you're out of the educational phase of your life, you're done growing? Where does it say that you have to live life thinking that your best is behind you? We live life the exact opposite as Jews. Our mission in life is to think and feel all the time that my best is yet to come, that my growth phase is yet ahead of me. I haven't davened my best Shemona Esrei yet. I haven't done my most selfless act of chesed yet. I have not been the best parent or spouse I can be yet. I haven't professionally achieved what I want to achieve yet. I haven't led my most healthy lifestyle yet. In every realm and area of life, whether you're 20 or whether you're 80, at every phase of life we are to believe, that's what Elul in this period of the year are about, at every phase of life we are to believe that my best X is yet to come, is ahead of me. I've quoted often that the great architect,
Frank Lloyd Wright.
it's so good you're here today. We missed you so much last week. Frank Lloyd Wright, who was a brilliant architect and designed award-winning buildings around the world, was once asked towards the end of his career, what's your favorite building? What's the favorite design that you've ever done? And his answer was, my next one. My next one. Right? And that's exactly our mentality. My best Shemona Esrei is not, I remember once and I was in Israel and this thing happened and I was in my year and I remember I had this incredible Shemona Esrei. I remember once, Amunah, Bitachon, that I was able to tap in every area of life, as parents, as spouse, as Ovdei Hashem, as B'nai Torah, B'nos Torah, our best version of ourselves in every one of these areas is yet to come, is ahead of us. There are ace ratzons that are still coming and that I can't wait for. U'kamosh ace ratzon kach makam hakadosh ma'oreh ratzon. Koloshen HaRebbe HaKadosh Reb Itzela Kividner mitalmidei HaRebbe HaKadosh Reb Mendel Mivitebsk Schus Yagen Aleinu HaKadosh Baruch Hu ozer tzadikim ozrim tzadikim me'olam hazeh v'tzadikim me'olam ha'ol elyon ozrim. We have all kinds of positive influences that create an environment, that create a condition, a climate, a culture that enable and create an Eis Ratzon. Sometimes we have to generate our own Eis Ratzon. Who we hang out with and where we hang out and the atmosphere we creates an Eis Ratzon. It creates an Eis Ratzon, which is an opportunity to break through. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps. He's the one who provides the climate, the Eis Ratzon, and we have to daven for it. We sometimes forget to daven for His help having personal growth. Hashem, help me in my learning. Hashem, it's kind of paradoxical. You're davening in Shemona Esrei. Hashem, help me in my davening. That's exactly how we start Shemona Esrei, by the way. What are the opening words of Shemona Esrei? Hashem sifasai tiftach ufi agiti lasecha. You know who said those words? David HaMelech said them in Tehillim. I think it's Tehillim Nun Beis. It's the Tehillim where after he sins with Bathsheba, and the Navi comes and criticizes him and says, you messed up. He offers in that Tehillim, Chatasi Lashem. But he begins, David HaMelech says, I feel I've disappointed Hashem so badly. I'm so far from Him. I have so little. Unlike Elul or Aser Simei Tshuva, the king is not in the field. The king is in his palace and he said, I can never come again. David HaMelech feels I have zero access to him. You ever hurt someone so badly or you made such a mistake or you messed up so much that you feel like, I don't even know how to start this conversation. I don't even know how to call. I don't even know how to start the email. I don't even know how to start the conversation. I don't even know. So that's how David HaMelech says, Hashem sfasai tiftach. Hashem, open my lips, Ufiyah, tell me what to say. Help me find the right words to fix this, to make it right, to connect with you again. And I always find it so meaningful that those are the words that we use. You know, Hashem, between Shacharis and Mincha, I blew it. I made all these promises at Shacharis and then I ignored you until Mincha. Between Mincha and Marav, I blew it. Between Marav and Shacharis the next morning, I blew it. All these promises, all these pledges, all these dreams I had, all these things you expected of me, and I didn't do them. I neglected them. So I don't even know if you want to hear from me. So Hashem sfasai tiftach. Help me move my lips. Help me find the right words. So the first thing we daven for in davening is for our davening. Hashem, help this davening flow. Help it go well. Help me concentrate. Help me find the words. Help me connect. Know what's in my heart. Yulo ratzon imrei fi ve'agyon libi lefanecha. How do we end davening? We say, Hashem, I don't know if it worked. The Hashem sfasai tiftach, I don't know if it worked. I don't know if I found the right words. I don't know if you felt it. Yulo ratzon imrei fi, but what I did say, yulo ratzon imrei fi ve'agyon libi, and what was in my heart. You know what was in my heart. Right? So when I sit with you and it's just not coming out right, I'm trying to say the right thing and I can't fix it and it's just not coming out right. But I'm telling you, I feel in my heart I have the right intention. Well, that's nice, but the other person doesn't have access to download what's in your heart. All the intention of the world, if you can't articulate it, it's very hard to communicate it. But not so with Hashem. With the Ribbono Shel Olam, sometimes you walk away from the conversation with him and you say, don't know if I got it with the right words, but Hegyon Libi Lefanecha. You know what's in my heart. You understand how I feel and where I'm coming from, and I want you to know that. So we start our davening, with a tefillah, that we have a good davening. Hashem Sfasai Tizach V'Yagid Vasach. I need your help. Help me find the right words. So we need to daven to Hashem. That's the first one. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ozer. Hashem helps. Hashem gives us the words He helps. And the tzaddikim ozrim. It means, this is the entire thesis of Chassidus, is unlike, I won't call it Hisnagdus, because I don't like that positioning it as adversaries, but unlike other hashkafos and worldviews, which place the emphasis not on attaching ourselves to a tzaddik, but attaching ourselves to Torah, not to suggest that Chassidus doesn't also support attaching ourselves to Torah, but the doctrine of Chassidus is the doctrine of the tzaddik, which is that you find that righteous person who's the moral model, the example, the compass, and now you calibrate your life based on them. So you come to their tish and you watch the way they eat, and you want to eat their shirayim because the way they ate food is categorically different than the way you ate food. You ate food to satisfy your boich. You ate food to indulge in the pleasure of food. Yeah, you said the Kavod Shabbos Kodesh, but the tzaddik ate food with all the correct intentions and kavanas and elevated and transformed the food, so you want to eat some of that food. You want to imbibe and absorb some of the kedusha of a food which was elevated through the different way that the tzaddik eats. Right? That's Chassidus. So to watch the way the tzaddik davens, to get the bracha from the tzaddik, to only live based on the advice of the tzaddik, to eat the shirayim of the tzaddik, is the doctrine of the tzaddik. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ozer, Salam Rebbe says, and tzaddikim ozrim. Tzaddikim me'olam hazev, tzaddikim me'olam ha'elyon. Not only the tzaddikim in this world, we find a tzaddik and attach ourselves to him. Oh, today is the birthday of the Baal Shem Tov.
Yeah.
It just came to my attention. This just in. Baruch Hashem. So, good. But says the Salam Rebbe, not just the living tzaddikim, but we can also ride the coattails of the tzaddikim who are no longer here. That's why we always say, that's whenever Salam Rebbe says, Zayin Yud Ayin, Schusa Yagin Aleinu, that his merit should protect us, that we are attaching ourselves even to those who are no longer here. Right, that we are attaching ourselves to those who come before us. Umakam HaKodesh Tzion Harashbi, Schusa Yagin Aleinu, Sha'an Nimtzaim Bo Bevadai Ma'ora Ratzon. So when you go to these holy sites, why do you visit the grave of a tzaddik? Why are we going there? We don't believe. We're not worshiping them. We're not davening to them. It's a terrible misnomer. Those who do are violating idolatry and paganism. We don't go to the graves of the righteous because we're davening to them. There's a minhag, it's quoted by the Shulchan Aruch, to go to the cemetery during this time of year. Sarsimei Tshuva. Why are you going to the cemetery? It's very simple. We have a very big court trial. We have a big hearing coming up. So I want the best lawyer on the planet advocating for me. And if I have a lawyer who I know plays golf with the judge, has coffee with the judge, smokes a cigar with the judge, knows the judge in the judge's inner chamber, that's the lawyer I'm going to. And I'm saying, could you put a good word in for me? So when we go to the tziyun, when we go to the grave of the righteous, we're not going because we're davening to them. We're going and saying, can you be a Melitz Yosher? Can you be my advocate? Can you represent me? I've got a big trial in the heavenly court. I have to appear before the judge. I know that you're much closer with the judge than I am. I'm barely an acquaintance to the judge. I'm practically a stranger to the judge. Maybe at times I try to be close and friends to the judge. But you know what? You have a history with the judge, and the judge loves you. So can you be my advocate? Can you be my lawyer? That's what we're achieving when we go to the grave of the righteous. Elokim barov chasdecha aneni be'emes yishecha yishin yanim hanogim lekol yachid v'yishin yanim hanogim leklal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael nimtza be'esar gedolav le'yichol yoshum Yeshua acheres kim Yeshua amitis ein Yeshua lechatzayin. We need a salvation, and we turn to Hashem. Barov chasdecha aneni, answer me be'emes, truthfully. V'anu mispalim b'schusam b'schusad Reb Shimon sheyarish olamas. We ask Reb Shimon Bar Yochai to shake the heavens b'shem kol Yisrael, on behalf of everybody, Shekol Yisrael Yishalach Lanu Yeshua Amitis, that we experience a Geula Shlema Sheizgad V'Yizkad Hashem Shemayim, that Hashem's name be made great in this world, that we fulfill our mission, that we achieve the day where His name and the world are consistent and are one, where people see Hashem in this world. So, Eis Ratzon sometimes happens to us, unanticipated, unpredicted, unchoreographed, unplanned, and in those moments we have to at least have our antenna up to see it, to feel it, and to try to break through in it, to bottle it, to write the letter to ourselves, literally or figuratively, to be able to return to it in those Eis Ratzons. We have those moments, they're there. And we also have an obligation, we have a responsibility to create those Eis Ratzons for ourselves and for our family. How do we have a Shabbos table, which is going to be an Eis Ratzon every week for our kids? That there are Zmiros, there's Divrei Torah, there's camaraderie, there's love, there's friendship, there's storytelling, there's sharing. How do we create that Eis Ratzon at the Shabbos table? How do we create that Eis Ratzon with each upcoming holiday? Is the holiday only about, I told you a few weeks ago, I was making my way through this essay in Bilvavi Mishkan Evne by, I think his name is Rav Schwartz, on the Yom Noraim, and he talks about how the appetite of the body and the appetite of the soul, right? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu created both, the body and the soul. They only work in consonance. A body without a soul is lifeless. It's a golem. It's meaningless. The soul without the body can't exercise free will in this world. It can't exist in this world. They only exist in tandem. That's the Ramchal and Derech Hashem. They only exist in tandem. The soul can only express its free will in this world. And he was talking about the fact that the body naturally has an appetite. If you don't need a few hours, you are hungry. You don't need a day, you're starving. You went a couple days, you're ravenous. And your body tells you when it's hungry, and you have such an appetite to eat that it supersedes other appetites. I came back, I won't tell you what time, but very late last night. There was a project I was working on, and I was in my office till very late last night, early this morning. And I was hungry because it was the middle of the night. And I went to the refrigerator at whatever ridiculous time that was until I stopped myself and said, go to bed, this is insane, there's no reason you have to eat. But the point is, no matter how exhausted you are, if your body says you're hungry, you grab something to eat on the way to sleep. The hunger for food supersedes the hunger for sleep because we're insane. Until we can regain our sanity and say that's ridiculous. There's absolutely no one ever woke up the next morning and said, the bag of potato chips at 2:30 a.m. was a really good idea. Nobody ever woke up and said, I'm really proud of that decision. That goes among my Hall of Fame decisions. Ever. No one ever woke up the next day feeling proud when they saw the bag on the counter. So the appetite is natural. It comes naturally. And Rav Schwartz says, what about the appetite of the soul? The soul also needs to eat, needs to be nourished, needs to be nurtured. But it doesn't have as natural an appetite. So it doesn't just go hours without eating. It can go a day. It can go days. And to be an Eved Hashem, to really be living the best version of ourselves, is to cultivate within our soul an appetite. That when it goes without Torah, it's hungry. It goes without Torah, it's hungry. Imagine if you didn't get to learn the whole day. You didn't get to listen to one shiur, open one sefer, learn the whole day. And now it's 2:30 a.m. and you're going to bed and you say, I'm so hungry, I can't go to sleep without a little bit of Torah. I just have to read one paragraph, one sentence. I have to listen to 1 minute of one thing because I'm so hungry on my way to bed and passing out, I have to feed my... That's the degree to which we're supposed to get. So we talked about that a few weeks ago. But what I read this morning, what he talks about is, he says it's so tragic that our entire calendar revolves not around the appetite of the soul, but the appetite of the body. Think about how we live. Is every holiday we associate with, what am I cooking? What's the menu? What's the food? What's the activity of it? Right? Rosh Hashanah's coming up. Got to get my apple and my honey and my fish head, and I'm making the roast, the recipe that my great-grandmother's been making that roast on Rosh Hashanah since the beginning of time. Right? And then Yom Kippur, I'm not eating, so we talk all about the pre-fast and break-fast. What's the menu? And then Sukkot, what's the menu? And if it's not the menu, then it's the physical or material component of it. It's the shofar, or it's the building of the sukkah. We got a great program this year, we just came up with yesterday, where we're going to get volunteers to help build sukkahs for people who need help building their sukkahs. Habitat for Humanity. Rabbi Moskowitz's name. Matthew's idea of a program, and Rabbi Moskowitz's name. Habitats for Humanity. Anyway, but we're so focused and concentrating on, do I have the most expensive esrog, and is my sukkah well decorated and designed, and what's the menu? Chanukah sufganiyot, and Purim, of course, are hamantashen, and Pesach is 101 ways to make potatoes, or matzah brai, or like our immediate association of the holiday is our gastrointestinal appetite. What's my or consequence? But what's my appetite? And he says, isn't that tragic? Shouldn't it be, what is my neshama going to crave? Rosh Hashanah is when that davening and that feeling and that connection, and which tefillah is the one that moves me, and which tune is the one that transforms me, and which is that moment I need to reach for those tissues, because that's the point in davening, that I am left changed. And Yom Kippur and Sukkot, and which... It's a total realignment and paradigm shift of the way that we identify with and associate with the Jewish calendar. It's not just gastrointestinally, not just the appetite of the palate, but the appetite of the soul, the craving of the soul. So how does that happen? How do we create that Eis Ratzon? That Sukkot leaves you changed walking out of the Sukkah. Not just because it was overwhelmingly hot and humid, or because the menu was great and so you're stuffed and need a wheelbarrow to be rolled out of your Sukkah. But how do you leave where you say, I felt I was sitting b'tzel dehamnusa. I was in the shade and the shadow and the protection of Hashem. I was exposed to the elements, but I had no fear, emunah bitachon, because He had me. I felt His hug, the 2.5 walls of the Sukkah, hugging me. How do I come through Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, this period of the year, but the whole year? How do I come through every Shabbos, which is a holiday, feeling that Shabbos was what did it? I had a big experience. This is why I went to New Square for that Shabbos, not just so I could milk it for all these articles and drushes when I got back, which is why I do anything in life, but also because I was craving, my neshama was craving access to tapping into something I know there, that I've experienced there, that is hard to get elsewhere. I'm not romanticizing New Square. It's got plenty of problems. There's a lot of issues. I'm not romanticizing it. I'm well aware of them. And I'm not prepared to live there full-time. I'm not prepared to live there part-time. But there's a passion and an energy and an enthusiasm, and there are minhagim and practices, which I brought back to our family, which I won't mention now for fear of embarrassing my wife, but reintroduced some minhagim at our Shabbos table, which may not last. They're passing fads. But for now, they, for me, injected a certain spirituality, from the way to make kiddush, to the way to make hamotzi, to other minhagim at the table. And for me, they've reawakened. Shabbos can grow stale. The Shabbos table can grow stale. The kiddush and hamotzi can grow stale. The zmiros can grow stale. And whether we're going to transform it to an Eis Ratzon, we have to take extreme ownership over that. That's our topic on Shabbos Shuvah. But that's up to us. Stop blaming everyone around us. Well, my kids run away and don't want to hear the Dvar Torah, and the guests never want to sing the Zmiros, and the thing, and I'm exhausted, and by the time we end that, we could come up with every excuse under the sun. But if we're going to make these moments opportunities, if they're going to be Eis Ratzons for us and for our family, we have to take extreme ownership. That's up to us. That's up to us. To imbue and endow these moments with meaning, with pnimius, with depth, with reality. I spoke about this in the Parsha Shir on Tuesday, so I won't revisit it, but it's the theme of our whole Parsha. Don't just go through the motions. Where's your Simchas HaChaim? Where's the Tuv Levav? Where's really being present in what you're doing? Not just mailing it in externally, going through the motions, the actions, but where is tapping into the deeper symbolism of what we're working on, of what we're trying to achieve? Turning every mitzvah, 613 invitations for an Eis Ratzon every day. Every bracha is an Eis Ratzon. We quoted the Sfas Emes in the Parsha Shir. It says the person who brings the Bikurim says, Lo shachachti, lo achalti me'oni, lo avarti mitzvosecha, lo shachachti. I didn't do anything wrong. Right? How is that vidoy? It's the most peculiar confession ever. In my confession, I'm perfect, I did nothing wrong. So the confession of the farmer is, I'm perfect, I did nothing wrong. The Rav is a beautiful insight. The Rav says, you know why that's a confession? Because when I say, Hashem, I got this right, it means I'm capable of getting everything right. The fact that I could admit that I did this well means I could do other things well too. And if I don't, it's not because I can't, it's just because I didn't want to. That's why it's a confession to say, I did it well, I got it right. So what does the farmer say? Lo shachachti. And Rashi there says, Lo shachachti milevarecha chal hamitzvah. I didn't forget to make a bracha. So this is one of the sources. Making brachos is rabbinic, not biblical. But when you drank the coffee and you said the shahakol, lo shachachti, Sfas Emes says, you know what kind of bracha we have to make? The kind of bracha that we can say, lo shachachti. When I make brachas, and I make brachas with everything I eat, I don't remember afterwards making the bracha. I mumbled it, I swallowed the bracha faster than I swallowed the food, and I don't remember, I'm not present, I don't remember saying it. What were the words, what was I thinking, what did it mean, how did it impact me? We just fly through it, we mumble it at best. It says the Sfas Emes, the whole method, the whole model of a bracha is lo shachachti, that we make a bracha, that the quality of the bracha is such that I remember afterwards that bracha. That's the quality of the bracha, lo shachachti. So every bracha, how many times do we eat and drink a day that we're making a bracha? Each of those is an invitation to remember there's a Hashem, to thank Him for the world, the shahakol, the ambiance of the world, not just the drink I'm putting in my mouth. It's an invitation, but only if we do it with the presence of a lo shachachti. If I mumble it, race through it, don't even remember saying it, then what was the point? Did I really even say it? But if I embrace it, if I hold on to it, if I had the kind of conversation that I say, I remember that conversation, lo shachachti. I remember saying thank you, because that was so meaningful. Of course I remember that thank you. Then that's an Eis Ratzon. So each of these Eis Ratzons where we're transforming our ani, then we're really ani l'dodi. Ani l'dodi. I'll just end. John Gottman, who we have here before, I've mentioned this many times before, he talks about in marriages, there are healthy, what he calls bids for connection. A bid for connection is when you come home and one person says, how was your day? Or a person just walks through the door or sends a text to the other person. That's a bid for connection. And how we respond to the bid for connection, there's three ways you can respond. You could turn towards, you could turn away, and you could be indifferent. And he talks about the ratio of turning towards versus the turning away or being indifferent. In a healthy marriage, I forgot whether it was 30 to 1 or 50 to 1, you need to have turning towards versus being indifferent or turning away. And so that's that notion. I've spoken about it in the context of the Kruvim. The Kruvim, one pasuk says they're looking at each other, another pasuk says they're turning away from each other. Which one? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us bids for connection. Every time we eat, every mitzvah we do is a bid to connect with us. He's sending us a text. You're going to ignore his text, you're going to write back. And when you write back, will it be kind of text, lo shachachti? Of course I remember that text I wrote back to you. I was so engaged in it. Or is it going to be the kind of correspondence that I don't remember? What are you talking about? I don't remember it at all. Each of these moments are bids for connection. Each of them are an Eitz Ratzon, to leave us changed, to leave us transformed, to leave us connected for ourselves and for our families around us. We'll pick it up next week. Amir Tzashem. Have a great day.